The NFL draft last night was absolutely amazing, incredible. I can't believe what the Los Angeles Rams did with the 13th pick. Uh, I can't believe what Les Snead did drafting Ty Simpson when it seems clear as day Sean McVay wanted nothing to do with drafting Ty Simpson, the quarterback out of Alabama with 15 starts. There were guys capable of helping the Rams win the Super Bowl this year, and they drafted a backup quarterback instead. They took a flyer at number 13 on a quarterback that people are iffy on rather than taking someone who could help them in 2026. I need help understanding this. I'm halfway irate about it, even though I'm not a huge Rams fan, but this makes no sense. I need help, and so I've called out to Bucky Brooks, NFL draft expert, former NFL player, former NFL scout, works for the NFL Network. Bucky, what did Les Snead do here? You're trying to win a Super Bowl this year, and you draft a backup quarterback with 15 starts. Why? I can't. Bucky, are you muted? Uh-oh. Or is that? No, it ain't my earpiece because I hear myself loud and clear. Uh-oh. Bucky. I'm calling for help from Bucky, and Bucky can't help me. Take Bucky off and let me continue, and we'll figure it out. Let me know. Bucky, keep trying to talk, and if I hear your voice, I'll come back to you. But look, man.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1,
There
2,
we
3.
go. There's Bucky. Bucky's here. Bucky,
All
help
right.
me understand what Les Snead did here.
Okay, so let's first talk about not the individual pick, but the roles and responsibilities of the general manager versus the head coach. The general manager and the head coach, there's supposed to be a checks and balances system where the general manager is supposed to think long term, what is the long range vision of the program to make sure that we're always competitive in a and being a title contender. The head coach is to think about right now, what am I supposed to do with this team right now, today? How can we win this year? To me, this is a move where Les Snead is saying, hey, let's make sure that we always have the most important position on the team field. Let's get a young quarterback before we need a quarterback so we're not beholden to whatever the draft class is when Matthew Stafford walks away from the game. If you think about the teams that have developed the best quarterbacks, the best, say the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers had Brett Favre. They drafted Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years. Aaron Rodgers then goes and has a Hall of Fame career. At the end of his career, they go and get Jordan Love. Jordan Love sits for 2. And the Green Bay Packers have always been a playoff contender because they've had seamless transitions at quarterback. The best time to get a quarterback is when you don't need a quarterback and when you can develop the quarterback correctly. What this is a move designed to do for the Rams, get the quarterback, develop the quarterback, don't rush him onto the field, allow him to sit and learn like yesteryear, and maybe that will give them a chance to sustain the success that they've been able to enjoy under Sean McVay.
So Jordan Love, where did he go in the draft? What number? 24?
Yeah,
Aaron Rodgers, what number did he go in the draft? In the 20s?
he was in the
Brett
20s.
Favre was a second-round pick for the Atlanta Falcons that they acquired. We're talking about the 13th pick in the draft, where you can go out and get a Reuben Bain Jr. who could help, who wasn't supposed to be there, who was there. You can go out and get a guy like that that could help you win a Super Bowl this year. Buck, I get your explanation, and you're right, but they're trying to win a Super Bowl every year in Los Angeles. That's what it takes to survive in Los Angeles as a non-football town. I gotta, this seems crazy to me. I get it. This seems like, hey, Les Snead is friends with Ty Simpson's father, longtime friends. And this seems more personal than business. 15 starts? 13th
Yeah, I mean,
pick?
I mean, I understand it. And I would say this, like coming into the process, I view Ty Simpson as a guy that needed to be a second round pick, just given the lack of experience. We have not seen many guys in this league that were first round picks that have had fewer than 17 starts have success. We talk about Trey Lance at 17, Mark Sanchez at 16. You talk about Anthony Richardson with 13, Dwayne Haskins 14. There's a long list of guys who flopped because they didn't have enough experience before they got on the field. In this situation, though, what you're trying to do is mitigate that risk by saying, we're going to take him now, but we don't have to play him right away. Hopefully, there's 2+ years before we have to put him on the field. We can develop him on the practice field. He can learn our system. We can surround him with the right players. And when he's given his opportunity, he is ready to play, much like Jordan Love, with Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. So I understand it in that regard. The issue, obviously, that you have is Ty Simpson being a guy that's not going to make a contribution in year one. You think that there is a more ready to play player that you could have taken at 13. And yeah, I understand that, but that also is short sighted. We all talk about in this league is a quarterback driven league. And if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a chance. If they in that building believe that Ty Simpson is a franchise quarterback that they can develop and win with, then this is well worth the criticism and the outrage that they're getting now. Because if he plays well, no one will remember that they took him too soon and they bypassed some good players to take a player that they believe will be great down the line.
What if your head coach, Sean McVay, let's put up the full screen of the look on Sean McVay's face, displeased at the draft presser. Can we this, and then the things that Sean McVay said at that presser didn't sound like he was on board with this pick. And so I get Les Snead thinking long term, but he's now pissed off his head coach and probably the rest of that coaching staff. Because again, winning a Super Bowl next year helps everybody on that coaching staff because it is a win now league. It is a not for long league. And yes, Les Snead can be there for a long time. He's the general manager. They won a Super Bowl. His relationship with the owners solid. But these coaches know that they can get fired at any time. They can get replaced at any time. I think he's just picked a fight with his young head coach, who, Bucky, the rumors have been for a while that he's thinking about getting out of coaching early, and that he could be a short termer, and so that's another reason why he wants to win right now. But I just you can outsmart yourself. I've done it. We've all done it. Where we think we're doing, oh, this is clever. We're going to be ahead of the curve, and we're going to do something no one think. And the next thing you know, you got egg on your face. I think Les Snead has outsmarted himself here.
Well, I think to your point about Sean McVay maybe plotting an early exit, I think if anything, Les Snead is protecting himself against that departure by having a quarterback in place that when a new coach comes in, he's there. As the general manager, my job is to understand, hey, we have an opportunity to build a contender that is sustainable. We want to have sustained success, and I can't worry about just this year. I can't make knee-jerk reactions to whatever happened the previous year and where people say, oh, we have to get it. Like, you have to have a long-term plan and vision for the franchise. That's the job of the general manager. And as we talk about the right now stuff, they went and got Trent McDuffie in the offseason. They got Jalen Watkins in the offseason. They have done some things in free agency to make sure that the team is ready to go. To me, this is one where Les Snead is like, hey, we need a quarterback. We have to get a quarterback. We have talked about this team taking a quarterback for the last 2 or 3 years, given the age of Matthew Stafford. At some point, you got to pull the trigger. And it's been proven that either you have a first round quarterback or no quarterback. They made the move, regardless of how it appears, him being the 13th overall pick. They wanted a quarterback. They went and they got a quarterback. And I will say this, there is nothing that is done without the approval of Sean McVay. Les Snead could not go rogue and take the player without Sean McVay being on board.
Based off of Sean McVay's reaction and based off of, my view, my opinion, which doesn't really matter, but Bucky, there's only one person I think in the NFL, and his name is Les Snead. And I've met Les Snead. Seems like a nice guy. I respect his football intellect. I hope he respects me. But none of us are infallible. And no one in the league thought this guy was worth the 13th pick. No one. And so only Les Snead, who has a relationship. Can we put the Albert Breer tweet up? Rams general manager Les Snead and UT Martin coach Jason Simpson have a very strong relationship, to the point where Snead helped advise the family when Jason's son Ty was making a decision on whether or not to declare for the NFL draft. Now Ty Simpson is a Ram. I got the perfect example, Bucky. I got the perfect example. When you get a little close to someone. I know someone that grew up with a great quarterback who was the number one overall pick in the draft. And man, he campaigned for this quarterback at every turn. When the league turned sour on him, there was a guy named Jason Whitlock out there. No, Jeff George is still a Super Bowl quarterback. There was one guy. And to this day, right now to this day, Jeff is 58 years old. I think he could help a football team. But people were smart enough to go, man, Jason's too close to that situation. Jeff can't do it at 58. He can't do it. And so no one drafts him. And this Les Snead is too close to this situation. That's the only explanation. And Sean McVay's expression and his reaction is like, this guy's lost his mind. We could have got a guy that could help us this year at 13, and we took a quarterback no one else wanted at 13. No one thought he was worth that.
It only takes one to love you in this process. And we've said that time and time again. And the only thing that matters really is how they view him within that system. How does Ty Simpson fit?
The system is leaving. His name is Sean McVay. He looks like he wants to exit early.
We don't know that. Look, we saw this. We saw this before. In fact, I'm going to say the reason why Ty Simpson is a Ram is because of the success that Sean McVay had with Baker Mayfield. They saw that with an undersized quarterback, they can continue to run this system and have a lot of success. That's why Ty Simpson is in the building. Now, I understand the optics of Sean McVay looking like he's not necessarily pleased or loving the pick, but some of that also may be to placate to a quarterback that he had to call and let him know that, hey, man, I want you to know that we are taking a quarterback, even though you're coming off an MVP season. This has nothing to do with you. It has more to do with us preparing for the future. If and when you decide to leave and to walk off and ride off into the sunset, we want to make sure that we have a situation in place, that we have a successor to your role, and that you can kind of mentor him along the way as we're thinking about continuing this successful run that we've had in LA.
Bucky, let's do this. Let me ask you this. If you were the general manager of the Rams last night, would Bucky Brooks have drafted Ty Simpson at 13?
No, I would not have drafted Ty Simpson at 13 because I didn't view Ty Simpson like that. I viewed him as a guy who, look,
maybe you're not best friends with his dad either. Maybe that's part of it.
I'm not. And look, man, loving eyes can never see. That said, there had to be a conversation and discussion for Ty Simpson to even be on the board. Other people in that building had to view him as a first-round pick for him to get the grade that he got to come off of the board at 13. So this can't be Les Snead operating in a silo saying, I'm going to go rogue against the entire front office and coaching staff and take a player. As much as we would like to think that those things happen, it doesn't. It's a consensus opinion. Everyone is on board. It's a Rams decision. Les Snead couldn't drive this solely by himself.
And I'm gonna move on from this, but I did. You played for the Kansas City Chiefs.
I did.
You know the names Carl Peterson and Marty Schottenheimer.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And you know that Marty Schottenheimer fell out with Carl Peterson about some draft picks that, like, what are you doing here? I'll give you one. This is one I was very familiar with because I covered Trezell Jenkins' freshman year at the University of Michigan or maybe it was his redshirt freshman year. He became their starting offensive tackle. I was in Ann Arbor, Michigan, watched him play. He's playing offensive tackle, playing offensive line, a position that I happen to know a little bit about, and I knew back
Right.
then a lot. And Michigan's entire philosophy was the philosophy we had at Ball State, because our coach was Paul Shadell, longtime Bo Schembechler assistant, and Gary Moeller was off that Bo Schembechler tree. We ran the same offense, and so I knew exactly what Trezell Jenkins was supposed to do, what it was supposed to look like, which foot he's supposed to step with first, and how 6-inch jab step here, blah, 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 blah. And Trezell Jenkins, the Chiefs drafted him at the bottom of the first round on the pretense of like, hey, he's coming out early and he's really going to grow into this body and we're getting value here. And I was like, no. You've done too much here. And Marty Schottenheimer was like, hey, man, there's a fat sports writer that knows they've done too much here and agrees with me. And that was part of and Trezell Jenkins was a bust. And that was part. So sometimes general managers do things like without the approval on their own because, and again, Lynn Stiles was a part of that decision, helped talk Carl Peterson into that crazy decision. But sometimes the GM does go rogue, or the coach may go rogue, depending on who has the most leverage. Sometimes you give a Caucasian a rope, and he wants to be a cowboy. You know, we used to say it different when I was growing up. But you give a Negro a rope, and he wants to be a cowboy. Same thing works for a Caucasian.
I would say this. I would say that for Ty Simpson to be at that spot on the draft board, there had to be an area scout, a college director, a cross-checker that viewed him as such. And even though they may not have had him as high as the 13th pick, they had first-round grades on him. And people have to understand when we talk about grades and round value, this is them saying that Ty Simpson has the potential to be a starting quarterback and even a high-end starting quarterback because the way they drafted him at 13 to get a grade like that on him, there are a lot of people in the building that support him. Now, I know at the surface, it didn't look like Sean McVay was very excited about it, but at the surface, maybe Sean McVay is also trying to figure out how do I juggle this conversation that I'm having with the press to make sure that my MVP quarterback doesn't take it the wrong way. I need my MVP quarterback to continue to want to be with the Rams, to continue to want to help us pursue a title while also developing this young guy. So let me make sure that I'm easy with my words so he knows that he's valued and appreciated and it's his team for as long as he wants it to be his team. So maybe some of that are the shenanigans that you have to conduct and a presser to make sure that Matthew Stafford is protected and doesn't feel insecure about the young guy coming in as a first-round pick to eventually take his job.
Let me put a pin in that conversation and get a couple of other thoughts. We got about 5 minutes left with you, Bucky. What's the best draft pick of the night in Bucky Brooks' opinion?
Best draft pick of the night to me is Caleb Downs going to the Dallas Cowboys. One, I feel like Caleb Downs was the best defensive player in this draft. For the Cowboys to land him at 11 was an outstanding stroke of luck, even though they moved up to number 11 to get him. Man, I think he's underrated throughout this process because what happens once we get to the combine and does things, it becomes a beauty pageant. Everyone wants these explosive athletes and those things. But when we were talking about football in the fall, college football, we talked about Caleb Downs potentially being the best player in this draft class. When I look at Ohio State, it is clear to me that he was the best defensive player on that team. And that is saying something with Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese. Matt Patricia put him in a role to be the defensive quarterback, put him in a position to make a bunch of plays. To me, the Dallas Cowboys are back on track defensively because Caleb Downs is now going to be the new traffic cop in the back end.
I'm a Sonny Styles guy. I think he has the most NFL body. I'm gonna tell you my real reason for Sonny Styles, and people think I'm joking, but I'm not. I saw at the combine, they interviewed his mother, and then they showed his father.
Yeah,
and I'm just talking about, oh man, look at his mama, thick, strong, father, thick, strong. I'm like, this is everything you dream about. I mean, I'm just everything you dream about. When I look at his mama and I look at his daddy, I'm like, they produced football royalty, and I say that in all seriousness. She looks like a football mama. And
oh my gosh,
what a son and he's 6'4", 6'5". This guy, and so that's my bite. All right, last thing. Worst pick in the draft, biggest mistake in the draft.
we spent a lot of time talking about potentially the worst pick, the most risky pick. I would say there's another one. Caleb Banks going to the Minnesota Vikings at 18. And the reason why that is such a risky pick is he is an outstanding player. In fact, when I look at him, he reminds me a lot of Chris Jones in Kansas City. 6'6", 327 pounds. He lit up the combine in terms of his movement skills, the explosiveness, and those things. You go back and watch the 2024 tape, he dominated at Florida. However, 2025, he gets hurt, broken foot. He's had multiple foot injuries. And typically, when big men have feet injuries, it can be problematic. That said, I'm all on him in terms of what he could be, but there's risk associated with taking him just because of the injury history. That is why he would be regarded as probably the biggest boom or bust pick in this draft class.
All right, get your reaction to what I think is the worst pick in the draft. I'll do this quickly. We got like 2-3 minutes left. You talk about feet injuries. You know, because of my own personal history and my knowledge of football, there's injuries that hurt football players. And there's an offensive tackle named Caden Proctor from Alabama that has an injury, and he has a nose ring, and he showed up to the draft with a platinum grill in his mouth, some big stupid gold chain. This
come
is
on.
Nice
an
offensive
suit.
lineman, Bucky. I don't want.
Nice.
This is how you show up to the draft.
That's a nice suit, Jason. He has been able to do all the things that you've ever wanted to do. If you watched Alabama on tape, not only is he a left tackle with nice feet, dancing bear on the edge, they throw bubble screens to him. They put him at quarterback, let him run wildcat quarterback
is his
plays.
nickname.
All
Krispy
those things.
Kreme.
Now, I understand what you're saying because it was a big part of it. Early in the year, he looked bad against Florida State. They say his weight might have been up to 400 pounds. Got it down to 352 for the combine. I talked to his trainer, Duke Manyweather, who talked about, hey, he had to understand what it takes to be a pro, but there's no denying his talent. Now, the issue is you put a guy who has a sweet tooth in Miami. There are a lot of distractions in Miami. Can he lock it in and stay focused? Yes, it's risky. The talent is there, but can he have the discipline to make sure that he stays away from those temptations down in Miami? Not only the donut shops, but some of the other things that are out there.
Yeah, Tootsies and King of Diamonds. I know the blueprint. I've seen. You know what my nickname was coming out of high school, Bucky? I don't. You're old enough to. You remember? I can't remember if it was McDonald's or somebody. They had a burger called the Cheddar Melt. That's what they called me in high school, Cheddar Melt. They called this dude Crispy.
Are we sure it's about Krispy Kreme?
Yes, it's about Krispy Kreme. Yes. Yes.
It's unbelievable.
You looking at feet issues, you need to look at eat issues. Thank you, Bucky. Appreciate it.
Man, I'll see you next week.
Get you out of here on time. The draft, it was wild. Hey, I'm going to pivot for a second. We'll get back to the draft with Steve Kim and Coach JB a bit later in the show. But I have to follow up on the conversation we had yesterday about Nick Khan and college sports, and Senator Eric Schmidt from Missouri, Republican from Missouri, is going to join us on the show and talk about college sports and the legislation that he and Maria Cantwell are proposing and trying to get pushed through about competitive college sports and fixing college sports. Going to talk with Eric Schmidt about that. I got some questions for him about Nick Khan and the conversation we had there. That's what we'll do next. Then we'll return to the NFL draft. We'll talk a little bit about Diana Russini and Mike Vrabel and all of that. And so Steve Kim, Coach JB were coming up, but I want to talk a little bit with Senator Eric Schmidt about something I think is really important to follow up on yesterday, but we'll get back to the draft. Before I go, I need you guys that are listening over Apple or Spotify to make sure you hit that 5-star rating. We deserve it. It's awesome. It helps us fight the algorithm, helps us grow the show. Please do that. The other thing I do want to do is thank our sponsor for today. Thank one of our partners. They've been with us for a long time. I've had a Patriot Mobile phone for 4 years now. I absolutely love it. I love it because I'm spending money with a mobile cell phone service and a company that supports my values, Christian conservative values. Patriot Mobile's more than just a cell phone company. They're an activist organization funded by selling top-tier cell phone service. They've been on the front lines defending our freedoms long before it was cool, standing in the gap between the gap when others won't. The best part is they deliver prioritized premium service on all 3 major U.S. networks, giving you the same or even better coverage, backed by a 100% U.S.-based customer service support team. Get unlimited data plans, mobile hotspots, international roaming, and more. And when you switch to Patriot Mobile, you'll help grow a movement that fuels Christian conservative causes. Every bill you pay helps advance the values of faith, family, and freedom. Switching is easier than ever before. Activate in just minutes. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Take a stand today. Go to patriotmobile.com/fearless or call 972-PATRIOT and use the promo code FEARLESS for a free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/fearless or call 972-PATRIOT and make the switch today. When we come back, Eric Schmidt joins us next. Now the Lakers are up 2-0 on the Houston Rockets. LeBron looks completely revitalized. The Lakers have figured out how to defend the Houston Rockets, and particularly Kevin Durant. They got a commanding 2-0 lead, and it looks like they're going to win this series. Ime Udoka looks over his head against J.J. Redick. Everybody else besides Kevin Durant looks like trash. Even Kevin Durant looks like trash. Marcus Smart is killing him defensively. And then the Lakers have unpacked another exciting white in Luke Kennard.
That dude, Luke Kennard, that dude right there is ridiculous.
Okay.
This is incredible. How many exciting whites can the Los Angeles Lakers have? It hasn't been snowing this much in Los Angeles since Jerry West's heyday with the Lakers.
I like it.
And everybody for the past year, 2, 3, 4 have been saying like, hey man, the NCAA is feckless and powerless. We need a leadership. We need a new vision for college sports. And I think we may have discovered it. And his name is Nick Khan. He's the silver bullet. Nick Khan used to represent everybody of any significance in sports media. Nick Khan's the smartest person I've met in the sports world. He's got long connections in the boxing world and in the fight game, and he's in D.C. to talk about some kind of Muhammad Ali act. And what he said that was actually most interesting while he was talking to Congress had to do with college sports.
If college sports is not cleaned up, we're going to see the result of it being what many of you already know. Programs will eliminate their football teams, which thereby affects Title IX, which thereby eliminates women's sports, which thereby affects the less revenue-generating Olympic sports. And instead of only boxing having had one Olympic gold medalist male gold medalist since 1996, you will have many, if not all, Olympic sports facing the same consequence.
He's basically saying like, hey guys, if you make me the head of the NCAA and we remake the NCAA in my vision, college sports will return to a level of greatness that it should and does belong. Everyone will make more money. And you women out there, you feminists out there that are concerned about financing the Olympic sports that women play and dominate and care about, things will be much better for you as well. Nick Khan's the silver bullet that college sports has been looking for. That was me yesterday talking about Nick Khan, who spoke in front of Congress for the Muhammad Ali Boxing Revival Act or whatever. But I was far more interested in what Nick Khan had to say about college sports, because I think it connected to something that Senator Eric Schmidt out of Missouri has been championing and campaigning. He and Maria Cantwell, Maria's a Democrat from Washington. Eric is a Republican from Missouri. They are sponsoring a bill or trying to pass legislation to protect college sports. And so in my mind, I was like, holy cow, Nick Khan could do this in his sleep. He's made for this. He's someone I've known for a long time. And that's why today we invited Senator Eric Schmidt on, because I want to continue this conversation. And so, Eric, I want to start not talking about Nick Khan, but talking about the legislation that you and Maria Cantwell are trying to get off the ground. Could you explain that?
Yep. It's great to be on your show again, Jason. Yeah, so if you arrive at this with the premise that college sports is in crisis mode, and I believe that. I wouldn't have said that a few years ago, and I grew up playing, and I come at this as a fan. Something has to happen. And if you would have asked me a couple years ago, does Congress have a role in this? I would have been very, very skeptical, as most people probably are. What does Congress have to do with college sports? Well, it turns out Congress is the only entity on the planet that can provide antitrust exemption to a governing body, the NCAA or some other governing body, to actually go fix this. And so you have two kind of buckets here. One is the governance bucket, and that's to do with, eligibility. Are you going to restrict to 5 years? Because all these lawsuits, Jason, over the last decade or so, whether it's NIL or whatever, have really stripped away the NCAA or any governing body's ability to set any rules. So you see all these eligibility cases like you saw in Mississippi recently. You see on the transfer portal, it's sort of unlimited transfers. I also come at this from the perspective that I don't have any problem with these guys getting paid. And I actually think you ought to be able to transfer at least one time for free. But nobody can say you can do that right now. And so you would grant antitrust exemption for transfers, for eligibility. You got a lot of nefarious actors and these guys posing as agents who are leading a lot of these young men and young women in some instances astray. So you set some rules. What do these contracts look like? And so I think that provides a basic structure. But you then have the second bucket, which is the revenue piece, which is what Nick was talking about too. Because look, everybody knows that college football has been the cash cow that has subsidized an institution's ability to provide the menu of sports that we've grown accustomed to. Women's sports, Olympic sports, non-revenue sports like baseball even, right? And so if you don't have a college football program that's making money to subsidize that, what's going to happen is you're going to start losing those sports. And that's what Nick was getting at. We're not going to be able to compete in the Olympics. You're going to have Title IX issues because you're not going to have the same offering. So what do you do about it? And that's the subject of Maria Cantwell's bill and my bill, which is to amend the Sports Broadcasting Act of 1961, which gave the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NHL, the NBA, the ability to collectively go to the rights holders, the networks, and say, here's our league. What are you willing to pay for it? And so what we would do is add college football to that mix. And so what would happen, think about it like this. College football has the second most eyeballs on it every single week. The NBA has half the audience of college football, but twice the revenue. So the NBA all in is about $8 billion a year. College football, which has twice the audience of the NBA, is about $4 billion all in every year. So if you just do the math, and even if you think the new NBA deal is a little inflated, or you don't think it'll, reach that kind of market cap, if you go from $4 billion to 10 billion or 12 billion, that's your revenue that can support the sports that we want to be able to support. And then you have a system then that has the revenue necessary to solve these problems. And so I think this is very doable. I think if Congress doesn't do something, grant the antitrust protections for the governing body like the NCAA to set the rules, and also for these conferences to join together voluntarily to collectively, sort of bargain with the rights holders. If we don't do something in the next year and a half, the landscape's going to look so different, Jason. You're just going to have so many fewer sports. You're also going to see college football programs go away too. I mean, you see the Mizzou helmet behind me. I'm an SEC guy. I love the SEC. That's what I watch on Saturdays. But if you kind of take a step back, there's a lot of other things in play here that we're trying to solve.
Well, Eric, you're talking to a former Ball State football player.
Yeah.
And when I think of mid-major football and what the transfer portal and NIL have done, they've turned a Ball State into a junior college.
Yep, that's right.
And as a fan, and I'm as big a Ball State nut as there's ever probably been, and follow the sports teams. I got there in 1985 as a player, left in 1990, and then became the biggest Ball State fan. I just don't enjoy this last 2, 3, 4 years. I don't get to know the players. They don't develop. If they do develop, we got a running back, Carson Steele, that plays for the Kansas City Chiefs the past 2 years. He transferred after 2 years and went and played at UCLA. I loved this kid. He's an Indiana kid. But so I think the more important question I want to pose to you, or just have you talk about, is that for a long time in our lifetime, Eric, I think many of the enthusiasts for women's sports saw football as the enemy. And
Right.
we actually need to explain to these guys and help them understand, no, football is your provider. And if people understood that, I think we could get more people on our side.
100%. I mean, I'm a former college. I was a two-sport athlete at a Division II school, and at football and baseball. And I think that what the reality of the situation is, whether you like it or not, college football not only is the second biggest sport in the sense of like viewership, it's growing. Like that's a good thing, because these teams, the next time the SEC goes out to bid, right? They're going to blow the roof off of that next contract. And if you think about it, the payout for an SEC school is about $70 million a year. The Big 12 is less than that. The Big 10 is, in that neighborhood. But that money that's generated then allows these institutions to have a women's swimming program, to have a diving team, to have a lacrosse team, and including, by the way, in men's sports, baseball teams don't make money for the school. And basketball teams, honestly, are kind of a break-even proposition, Jason. The NCAA makes the money on the tournament. I mean, so like some schools might make some money on it, but it might even be a bit of a loss for other schools too. So you have to protect college football, and the way you do it is you have to grow the pie. And the way you grow the pie is, like in our legislation, you would have a scenario where, say, the Big 12, the ACC, maybe they join together initially. The Big 10 and the SEC are going to have to voluntarily join for this thing to ultimately work, because that's where the most eyeballs. The SEC gets about 40%. The Big 10 gets nearly 30% of sort of the eyeballs that watch college football. So that pie is going to continue to grow. But to your point, it is the cash cow that generates the revenue that allows you to provide all these other sports that lose money, but are very important. I mean, as college athletes, they learn very important lessons, and to show up on time, you work hard, there's a competitive spirit, there's a sportsmanship, you learn how to win, you learn how to take a loss and come back from that. They become leaders, and I don't want to lose that. And it's pretty uniquely American thing what we do with college sports, and it fuels. I mean, look at our Olympic hockey team. We just won the gold medal, and Nick was talking about boxing. There's a lot of things that we kind of take for granted that college football ultimately subsidizes, and why this, I think, is so important for Congress to say, yes, you can go do this like the NFL, you can go do this like the NBA, and yes, you have the ability to set some rules for the road as far as eligibility and transfers. And the other thing that's happening is without any eligibility standards, you got 24, 25-year-olds playing. And what does that do to the 17, the 18-year-old that's trying to play for Ball State? Like, not only does it have a cascading effect, Jason, on the kid at Ball State who wants to transfer, but the kid in high school that may go to Ball State, there's a, you know, I mean, there may not be an opportunity for that person either. So there's a lot on the line here.
So I came to Missouri in 1994, Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah, I remember.
And obviously the NCAA was in Overland Park, Kansas when I got there. And so, you know, the history of the NCAA, Walter Byers' role in being basically the modern founder of the NCAA, I'm just very aware of, very in tune with. And really, since Walter Byers stepped aside, there's been a lack of leadership. And it's just, and again, I don't want to call anyone individually out, but like now the NCAA is kind of powerless and there's a leadership vacuum. And I'm wondering, before yesterday or 2 days ago when you posted Nick Khan's statements in front of Congress, are you aware of Nick Khan at all? Or are you aware of his background, resume, any of that?
I am. So I'm actually on that Commerce Committee. So the Commerce Committee has jurisdiction over professional sports and college sports, which is why Nick was there to talk about another piece of legislation. And I reposted that on my X account. And actually, I have a call with Nick later today. Awesome. we're going to be talking about it because I actually, you know, I didn't know he had a point of view on the college sports thing until he came to testify about the other thing. And what I found, Jason, is that the more people you can actually have this conversation with that you and I are having right now, all of this stuff just makes common sense. And it's, you know, Congress doesn't do, I mean, there's just not a lot of like stuff that makes sense a lot of times in Washington. But my hope is that in a bipartisan way, I mean, I'm a conservative Republican. Maria Cantwell is definitely on the other side of the aisle. But you can kind of come together and understand that, look, there's no red jersey or blue jersey on this thing. Like, this is about college athletics. And for the fans, think about the opportunities that could exist, Jason, if you have that kind of unified rights deal. The games that are going to be televised. So the difference between like a game, you know, think of the opening weekend, kind of Labor Day weekend in college football. You know, Mizzou's going to be playing, you know, Arkansas Pine Bluff. There's not going to be a lot of eyeballs on that, but you're probably going to have two ranked opponents playing. The viewership is 5 times higher for games like that early on. So you start to set the schedule with a group that can say this is going to be that 2:00 game. NBC might bid on the premier Saturday night game. Then you have all these different time slots like the NFL does that drives more attention to the sport, ultimately more revenue. Think of right now, Jason, if you had the NFC East with its own TV deal, the AFC West with its own TV deal. It would be kind of weird, right? It would be very disjointed, and that's kind of what we have right now. And again, I want to see the SEC thrive. I want to see Mizzou thrive. I want to see the Big Ten thrive. I want to see Kansas State, all these schools that have something to gain here. And our legislation is completely voluntary, right? These conferences can voluntarily join this. So we're not saying you got to do it. I think for it to really work, you're going to have buy-in from the biggest schools and the biggest brands and the biggest conferences. But like I said, there's a governance piece to this that's really important, and then you have the revenue side, and I think they're inextricably linked. I don't know if you just fix the governance side, and you limit the transfers, or you limit the eligibility, or you protect the student athletes with some kind of rules for agents, and you do all that, but college football programs like Rutgers that lost millions and millions and millions of dollars, that's a Big Ten school. You're still going to have the problem of the offering of the other sports. You know, if they're not making money and they're losing money because they're, because now obviously the dirty little secret is the cap is for all this is $20.7 million to spend on all this based on the House settlement. But, you know, people are kind of getting around it, end to run with these NIL deals where you have some rosters in the SEC that far exceed that number. And so there's a lot that I think we got to kind of figure out. But the genesis of this, as you know, is which was the pendulum going back to the NCAA. And I don't know if that's the governing body that should be in charge. It's got a lot of baggage. I think you're kind of getting to that a little bit, right? It's got some baggage. But if you get to this unified rights deal, it's a different governing body that can decide the scheduling and the playoff. And think of the dollars at play if they move to a 16 or 24 team playoff, whatever that number is. I mean, for me, and I watch all kinds of sport, that could be the month of December into January. I mean, the viewership on that, it would be through the roof. And I think you're kind of getting away from conference championships. They still locked into these TV deals. But, I think the NCAA, has had their issues. But there has to be some entity that can say, no, you got 5 years, or you can transfer one time for free, or if a coach leaves, or whatever the criteria you want to set. That makes a lot of common sense. And we're also just trying to solve that revenue piece, like I said.
Well, there also has to be an enforcement piece of like, hey, look, these are the rules we're playing by, and there's penalties for not following these rules.
Yeah.
Right now, because the NCAA is so weak, and I'm not blasting any individual, it's just this is what happens to institutions if you don't find the right leadership or things just kind of change. But if there isn't a governing body enforcing rules and some level of fairness, and I know teams were cheating back in the days when you couldn't pay the athletes, but there was penalties for that. And so there was a much more level playing field. And that is, again, and Eric, I think you've followed my career long enough to know that even though I know Nick Khan and I'm friends with Nick Khan, everybody knows about me is like, I just don't play favorites. And when I say that Nick Khan is the visionary that could be the silver bullet to help bring all these things together. And I understand that there's commissioners of the SEC and the Big Ten, and I'm sure those guys want to be the ultimate leaders, but I'm not sure if they're positioned well to do that. But I'm so ecstatic to hear that you and Nick Khan are talking, because the other aspect of this, Eric, is I think this is a great opportunity for President Trump as well.
Yeah.
If part of his legacy is cleaning up college sports and putting it in a better position, I think that's a great win for him.
100%. And I was at the White House roundtable about a month ago, and I have a close relationship with the president. We played golf together, and he's a sports guy. He talks about sports, but it's not phony. Like he's gone to boxing matches. He goes to baseball games. He knows the players. He knows the athletes. So he does care about this. And I agree with you. I think this is an important legacy because, look, the pendulum was in the one direction, and it wasn't working. I mean, the student athletes had sort of no options. And the genesis of this for your audience, I mean, you talk about it, is basically the name, image, and likeness stuff happened when you're playing EA Sports and you're playing a game and you're Ohio State versus Notre Dame or whatever, and these players, they look like the player. But the players didn't get any compensation for any of that, right? It was just the schools got some money, and maybe they got an Xbox or something out of it or whatever it was. And the players brought a lawsuit. And the courts have said, yeah, actually, you deserve to be compensated for your name, your image, and your likeness. And then from that, you got a string of litigation then that effectively has said the NCAA does not have the ability to restrict a lot of these things that people accepted for a long time, which is why Congress has to come in and say, okay, that's what the courts have said, but we're going to carve out the ability now for a governing body to set some rules and also carve out some antitrust protection for these different conferences to come together, because normally that would be collusion, right? That would be struck down. You can't collude there and decide what you want to negotiate with the rights holders. So that is the role of Congress, is to be able to say those two things can happen. And then I think we'll be much better for it. And you're right. Having somebody that's kind of savvy, that's worked these media deals is very important. I mean, with the WWE or whatever role he's had, or other, not just Nick, but a lot of people who understand media rights and they understand that kind of governance structure.
Are you
almost
aware?
formally support it.
Nick Khan was the most powerful sports agent in the media for a long time before he went to the WWE. He's worked with Eric Shanks at Fox Sports, Jimmy Pitaro and Bob Iger at ESPN. He's his relationships with key people in the sports media, the opinionists, the Pat McAfees, the Stephen A. Smiths, the Colin Cowherds, all of that is long-standing top executives. If anyone looks, and I know the WWE fans do some whining and complaining, but like he has financially transformed the WWE. But I'm going to quit championing.
Yeah.
You guys are talking. I'm going to quit championing. The final thought or question is, I think I would love, and maybe you could help me. I would love to have Maria Cantwell on because I think it's important. And how did you two find each other on this issue that she seems to be able to? Anyway, yeah. How did you?
Yeah,
find
no.
it?
So she is the ranking member on the Commerce Committee. So before it changed hands, before it became Republican Senate last time, she was the chair. I'm on the committee, and I can't remember where I heard that she had an interest in this. And I think the genesis of some of it was Washington State. Think about that school. Really, in this whole new structure with conference realignment, really was kind of left behind. And so I think Maria, and she has a background in streaming services and in media. And so it's as simple as we were on the Senate floor one day, and I went up to Maria and I just said, hey, listen, I'm a huge fan that happens to be a U.S. senator, and what's happening, I don't think this is sustainable. The way I see it, I just don't think this is sustainable. And she agreed with that. And I said, well, why don't we try to figure this thing out if we can hammer out something? Because this is the first bipartisan piece of legislation that's come out. I mean, Republicans have offered stuff, Democrats have offered stuff. And so what we took that as a challenge to say two people from very different ends of the political spectrum can come together and offer something here that hopefully has legs. And so it's as simple as that, just starting the conversation and two people who are willing to work together for a common cause that I just think, again, there's a lot of things to debate. There's a lot of things to argue about up there. And there's a lot of things that are heated and very partisan, but this shouldn't be one of them. And so, I'll mention to Senator Cantwell when we're back up there next week that we talked and see if she'd be willing to come on the show.
I think you guys are setting a great example in using the right vehicle, sports. This could be an educational moment of like, hey, look, men and women, we're not pitted against each other. We actually can benefit each other. And women's sports has so much momentum. And I don't think they understand, like, football and the death of football could actually kill the momentum of women's sports.
For sure. And the other thing, Jason, is, look, first and foremost, you and I, we're Americans. You know what I mean? And I'm telling you, I mean, you can see over on the side, you got a Cardinals hat here. And man, there's nothing better, I don't think, of being at Busch Stadium. And I don't care. The person next to me, I have no idea what their political affiliation is. I don't know any of that. They're black, they're white. I don't care. Like, we're rooting for the same team. And it's one of the few things left that really brings us together. Right? It brings us together, and people are loyal to their teams or loyal to those brands. And I don't want to lose that. I mean, you're experiencing a little bit of that with Ball State, right? If it's like there's a little bit of, little dissolution that can happen. I don't want to see that happen more broadly. I want people to feel good about it, and they can still rally with their communities and support the teams that they love. And I think that's what's on the line here, because what's happening right now, it just is not sustainable. The landscape will look in 3 years. And you look back, it'll be very, very different. A lot fewer teams. Some of these programs or the offerings, they may still exist, but they may just be a club team. Like they're not gonna, or if even that, right? If even that. So, and even if you say, well, I don't really care about those sports, I only care about football, you're gonna have a lot fewer teams that can compete because they're just not gonna have the ability to go out and compete with some of the other schools for players who are in the transfer portal. And so that's, you can take a myopic view if you're like a Michigan fan or something like that. But the truth is, you want to have a competitive balance. I think one of the great things about the SEC, for example, is you've seen, even in this new system, the Ole Misses and Mizzou kind of rise up. So you've got a one possession game now in that league almost every week. That's awesome. Like, that makes those games more interesting. And you don't want to lose that where you have a fewer number of haves and a lot more have-nots.
Eric, thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. Thank you. That was Eric Cantwell, Senator from Missouri. That was awesome. We'll bring in Steve Kim. Next. The goodwill is gone. Hey, we're part of a movement and women's basketball is on the rise. No, women's basketball in the WNBA and professionals, it's bloated. It's overrated. It's hot garbage that's being paid like it's pristine and some prized possession, and we're seeing some form of basketball that we can't get anyplace else. Well, you can get it at your local junior high for free. Go! You can get it at your local church league.
I come to the church, look what I'm telling you. A guy jumped all on my back, he gonna tell me, he gonna pray for me. No, that's a foul.
YMCA league.
Shoot down at the bar, bitch!
You think people want to pay for a group of players that hate them and hate America and have portrayed themselves as victims and blackmailed and guilt-tripped their way into a 7-figure salary?
If y'all don't give us what we want, like, we sit out.
If you can't sell out the Indiana Fever's first home game and you're basically having to reduce prices, give tickets away to see Caitlin Clark, that is an indicator. Not just that Caitlin Clark has lost her star power, it's an indicator that the entire league is teetering at the brink of an uprising and a backlash that's really long overdue.
Words are our religion, no regrets in our decisions. We all want to go to heaven with freedom. It's my obligation, no hate, discrimination, raising up your hands for freedom.
Welcome back. Jason Biden here with you. That was Eric Schmidt, not Eric Cantwell. Somehow I've combined Eric Schmidt and Maria Cantwell. Anyway, the chat's all over me for it. Yes, I had a Joe Biden moment. Anyway, Steve Kim, welcome into the show. Welcome back to the show. Man, I can't get this earpiece to cooperate with me. Steve Kim will talk some NFL draft, but I want initially your reaction. I don't know if you saw it yesterday. I talked quite a bit about college sports, and Nick Khan just interviewed Eric Schmidt there, talking about college sports. Anything you found interesting in that interview today or the discussion I had yesterday about ways to fix college sports?
Well, first of all, I know Nick Khan very well. Known him for years. I don't know if we've ever talked about it.
Oh, that's a boxing guy. Yeah, he's a boxing guy, of course.
And I actually helped him in one of the biggest cases that really set him or really marked his territory as a boxing guy or someone that was involved in the sport. Years ago, this is more than 20 years ago now, he actually represented Manny Pacquiao get away from his original American promoter, Murad Muhammad. They went to court. And I actually did one of the key stories in that case that was presented from what I understand. And his time is up. His partner at the law firm was a guy by the name of Keith Davidson. So I knew Nick very well. We'd meet for lunch. He then became, I believe, the agent for Freddie Roach. So he'd be at Wildcard Boxing, and we were very friendly, and we'd talk about things. And we've stayed friendly throughout the years. Now, obviously, he is part of Zuffa Boxing, and he was very present a couple days ago in Washington, D.C. Couple of things. You're putting a lot on his plate. So he wants to save boxing, and now you want him to save college sports. Couple of things. Number one, when it comes to all these issues, the words of Thomas Sowell ring out. Thomas Sowell, American treasure. He said something that is incredibly true and most people do not want to admit. There are no true solutions. There are only trade-offs to any of this. Okay? So when it comes to boxing, I've said it. The only way you're going to save boxing, and I mean this completely, and I say it as a joke, but I'm dead serious. You got to put me in charge. I'm the only guy that can save boxing. He's already too biased. He's with Zuffa Boxing. and I understand it takes harsh measures. So until you make me the Kennesaw Judge Landis of fisticuffs, there's no hope. There's only solutions. But you can read about those solutions on my Substack, stevekimboxing.substack.com. And I mean that because too many people, they don't understand the actual crux of the problem of boxing. And I don't want to bore your audience with them, but one day maybe you want to get into it. Not here.
You're
now,
determined to do it. People love college sports.
Now, when it comes to college sports, Jason, we don't need all these subcommittees. We don't need a savior. We don't need any of this. Again, transfer, 1 year out. You get 5 years, age limits, boom, done. That's it. We're complicating this issue, but even then that comes with certain compromises that have to be looked at. There is no perfect system, but I don't look at the NIL as a problem like some do. I want people to get paid. The problem is we have made the NIL into something that it was never intended to be, which is fine. But you take away the ability for these players to move every single year, you will solve at least half of these issues that exist today.
I get it. I think you've minimized the problem, whereas Eric Schmidt, President Trump, Nick Saban, Nick Khan are looking at a bigger global problem in college sports and an underachievement. It's like Eric Schmidt just unpacked like, hey, man, college football is generating $4 billion in media rights revenue. And he just basically said, like, hey, if run properly, they would generate $10 or $12 billion. And then that would solve a lot of problems with Olympic sports, which are going away.
Time out.
Again, I know you don't care about that, but there's
why are we pretending we care about this? We don't.
Because
see, Title IX is a cancer.
You're including a lot of people. Maria Cantwell cares. Eric Schmidt cares. He's a former Division II baseball player.
Okay.
Again, there's people that like Olympic sports.
Really?
Yes.
How much do you watch throughout the weekend?
I just said there are people. I didn't say Jason.
Right, who are they? So you named two. You named two.
There's a bunch of kids and parents that their kids play these sports. They play hockey. They play tennis. They do gymnastics, track and field. You know, there's a bunch of people. It can't just all be about me.
You know what I think the Title IX, you know what part of my legislation with me when I'm Commissioner Kim running college sports? Every one of those non-revenue generating sports, those athletes, they must go to every football game and then stand and applaud and say thank you to every one of those players that make every one of those sports possible. I can't wait till me and JB get on here because we're gonna kill you with this. The reality is college football, yes, I actually agree with the senator. If you had a television deal that was less parochial and it was a package of college football, because the thing that bothers me, Jason, as a fan, these networks start to become mouthpieces for specific leagues, ESPN, SEC, instead of just covering college football as a whole, right? And Joel Klatz talked about this. He said, as someone that's associated with Fox, I want to do more than just the Big Ten games. I'd like to cover everything. And then you'd have less bias in terms of the coverage. I'm with you on that. But guess what? All of that money, in my view, should kind of stick with football. I'm going to be honest about it. That's just the way I feel. I know it's terrible.
I get it's the way you feel, but that can't be the way things operate.
You don't think most of America agrees with me?
No, I don't. I
really?
think that, yeah, I think that most of America loves football, but feels like, man, football's kind of being taken care of. These guys are making a lot of money through NIL. How much more do we need to lather on them when we could lather it around these other athletes, these other sports, even though they're not for me?
So wait a minute.
And all this other stuff.
So you're a sports socialist. This is terrible. Wow.
I get it.
I don't even know who you are.
I get it, but come on, man. America's never been just about what's in it for me or you or anybody. As men, we're supposed to be providers, and college football and men could be providers for everyone else so that they can pursue events, activities that they enjoy. Women can't or never will play real football. And there's a group of people that will never hit the athletic lottery to be tall enough to play basketball or tall and physical enough to play football, but are they good cross-country runners, good gymnasts, good wrestlers, and I want them to have a lane in sports as well because they benefit from that. And sports, when executed properly, develops and teaches people proper values, proper work habits. It's a benefit to everybody, and it shouldn't just be limited to football and basketball.
Well, here's the issue, though. Okay, you're trying to throw in basketball. I saw that. Football pays the freight most of the time.
Right.
Let's be honest.
You're right about that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't see. Here's the thing: we can't say on one end, well, football pays for everything, so why don't we limit what the? No, I think the guys that do the hard labor should actually be rewarded for it. I don't completely disagree that there should be other sports that exist. I'm being a little tongue-in-cheek here.
Yeah.
However, this whole notion that it has to be 50-50 in terms of funds allocation, like Title.
I don't think.
I know you're not
50-50.
saying it, but Title IX, in a lot of ways, forces that. It shoehorns that in there, right? But the reality is, football drives everything. It does. Like when people say, why was Nick Saban paid so much at Alabama? Because people made a big deal about his salary. If you ever look at the endowment numbers of Alabama from 20 years ago to now, the amount of applications that they get out of state, I can make an argument that St. Nick was underpaid. Football now is the front porch. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying what is. But this whole notion that we have to save these other sports, do we really? Do we really?
Well, it's no different than men going off to war to save everybody. Everybody that's not as capable of being in the military and making that sacrifice. Men have always, there's a burden. We should be providers, and football should look at itself, and men should look at itself as like, hey, we're providing for the safety, the freedoms, the activities, the enjoyment, the everything for everybody else. That's part of our, and we're going to get rewarded for that, and they are getting rewarded for that, and they should be more celebrated than the gymnast or whatever. But the men should take pleasure, enjoyment out of being the providers for everybody else, and that's been football's role, and we're out of whack with that, and need to get that back in balance. Let me move on. Is it JB? We still waiting on JB? Okay, JB just wrapped. He's coming. Steve, we're going to switch and talk with you and JB. I know you're not the hugest Rams fan, but holy cow, did they make a decision last night? And I don't blame Sean McVay. I believe Sean McVay is upset and disappointed. I believe Matt Stafford will be upset and disappointed. I think the other 52 players on the Rams will be upset and disappointed. We drafted someone at 13 for next year when we're trying to win a Super Bowl this year. What did you think of the Ty Simpson pick?
Very odd. Now, Jason, would you have had it? Because I heard you earlier. So let's say this was the 27th pick in the first round. Would you have had an issue with it? I'm guessing not.
Less of a problem.
Okay. Because this has been done before. Like you detailed it. Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers situation, Jordan Love. This kind of reminds me, though, and it's not a perfect analogy. Remember when Larry Bird was drafted with the junior eligible rule?
Yes.
He could not, and he had to play his last year at Indiana State.
Yes.
And then they really got him, I guess his second year, but it was really his rookie year. And Red Auerbach said something really interesting. He said, if you truly believe in a player, you know how fast 1 year can go by? And I would say the Boston Celtic fans are probably happy that they got Larry Bird under any condition. Now, I'm not saying Ty Simpson is Larry Bird because I don't think he is, but keep this in mind. The thing that I actually do like about it, and I'm not on board with it completely, he only had 15 starts. I'm a big believer you got to have closer to 30 to be able to play game one of the National Football League. He's going to serve an apprenticeship of at least a year. So from that perspective, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
Let me disagree with your Larry Bird analogy in this sense. There was a consensus opinion throughout the NBA that Larry Bird and or Magic Johnson were the two best players in that era that would be available in that draft or the next year's draft. Blah, blah. Larry Bird was either number 1 or number 2. There is a consensus that Ty Simpson is not a first-round draft pick and certainly not the 13th pick in the draft. And so I get it. There's only one guy, in my view, that thinks that Ty Simpson is a first-round quarterback, and his name is Les Snead, and he's friends with Ty Simpson's father. I think it's a joke. I know JB is very pleased with himself because he predicted that Ty Simpson would go to the Rams, but that's just because JB predicted it doesn't mean it was a sound decision. JB, could you clarify your thoughts here on Ty Simpson and this draft pick?
Yeah, you sound like Chris Collinsworth PFF crap. Number one. Number two, this is a big boy move. Big boy decision. Great decision. Great job. Still is the draft. Number one. Number two, let's talk about brass tacks. When does the Rams pick at 13? When will they ever pick at 13? And when have they picked at 13? They will be 28 to 32 every single year as long as Sam Snead and McVay are there and Stafford's there. They're going to end the conversation to win a Super Bowl every year. So they will be from 28 to 32. When are you going to get a quarterback at 28 to 32?
Teams do it all the time.
No, they don't. They don't get the quarterback. They get a quarterback. Huge difference. They're going to be at 28
like
to
Joe
32.
Montana went in the 3rd round. Tom Brady went in the 6th round.
Jason, this is the worst quarterback draft I've seen.
Brett Favre went in the 2nd round.
This is the worst class I've ever seen. Brett Favre's not floating around with Tom Brady in the 6th round in this draft. This draft's horrific. Not only at quarterback, but everybody else. This is the most blah draft.
So why are you
ever.
taking the guy at 13 then, JB?
You don't need anyone else. Who do the Rams need? They made their offseason transitions at
Who
corner.
thinks that way? You think Sean McVay thinks we don't need anybody? You think Sean McVay doesn't think, hey, Reuben Bain Jr. can get after the quarterback and help us this year, even if it's in a role off the bench? There's no head coach that thinks like, nah, I'm good. I got enough. Everybody wants more.
No. So as long as Matthew Stafford is there at 37 years old, and we don't know how we're going to restructure his contract and how long he's going to play. Jimmy Garoppolo has said, I'm going to probably hang it up and retire. I have a guy in Stetson Bennett who I'm not sold on fully being bought in. I have to take a quarterback. I'm not going into a gunfight with no bullets, Jason. I don't know what Stafford's doing at 37 years old. I already have everything else. They don't need a pass rush right now. And let's be macro about this. They got secondary help. That was what lost them the Super Bowl last year. They covered that hole. Number one. Number two, Jason, what do the Rams still? What can they still do? They can be ultra aggressive in the 2nd and 3rd round and still try to get an A.J. Brown, a George Pickens, who's going to be released by the Cowboys. Just wait till that happens and trade it. The Rams can still please Matthew Stafford in making a great move at wideout. There's going to be 10 wideouts taken this round, Jason. 10. The Rams sit at 61, guaranteed wideout.
Don't they still have Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua?
Yeah, Devontae's a little older. Yeah.
I'm with you on that. Devontae Adams, I think, tore his hamstring. He missed some time. I thought Mekhi Lemon was the safest choice. I thought if they needed a young 3rd receiver that could be flipped around, I actually think Mekhi, based on his production and what I've seen, I don't think there's that much difference between him and Jordan Tyson. Even though JB predicted Ty Simpson at 13, I was surprised they did not go for Lemon. But with that being said, though, Mr. Whitlock, if you really believe Ty Simpson is that good, you have to drown out the noise and trust your evaluation.
Let me ask you this.
Obviously, that's what they're doing.
Gotcha. Steve, and then JB, do you believe Sean McVay thinks Ty Simpson was the right pick at 13?
I know he was. I know he does.
Whoa. Hold for a second, JB. I'll ask Steve first. Do you believe Sean McVay believed that?
Well, there's no one I trust in football more than JB if he has good sources. He does. With the Rams, hold on, Jason. He has good sources with the Rams. I'm telling you, I know a guy, him.
Who knows the guy? Who knows the guy you know, too, by the way. Go ahead.
Yes, but we protect our
Hey,
sources
look,
here.
Les Snead made it crystal clear he liked Ty Simpson. Todd McShay's been saying it since November. JB, I'm not trying to diminish your prediction here, but you weren't out there alone. Anybody talking to Les Snead, anybody that knew his relationship with Jason Simpson, knew that, like, hey, Les Snead likes this guy and wants to draft him. I don't think Sean McVay, based off his reaction last night and based on what was available at 13, I just don't think he was on board with this. Sean McVay, I think, is trying to wrap up his coaching career early, and getting his Super Bowl next year is his priority. And it's Matt Stafford's priority. These guys aren't joking around like, well, let's worry about 2 years from now or 3 years from now. And men, not just coaches, but men are rarely satisfied. If they have $1, they want 2. If they have 2, they want 4. 4, they want 8. If you're Mike Vrabel and you're married to your college sweetheart or whatever, you want Diana Russini and something on the side as well. Men tend to want more, and you're acting like Sean McVay is good with this. JB, I don't see it.
I know you don't, and that's why you're assuming, and assuming makes asses of us all. You got to stop assuming, because Sean McVay made this pick, contrary to your belief, solely. Stop assuming. They're great friends. Sean McVay wanted Ty Simpson.
Do we have the clip of Sean McVay talking to Kay
You know
Adams?
what that is, Jason?
He doesn't
You know
even
what
know
that
who
is?
this guy. What?
Jason, you know what that is?
What?
Have you ever played poker?
JB.
You know what a poker face is when you're a head coach and everybody doubts you and everybody thinks they know more than you and the guy in the room making the calls? Do you ever seen that guy?
Do
know
you
what he's saying?
think
He's like,
in
"Yeah, I
order,
made that
JB, in order to get
what?
Ty Simpson and his 15 starts, no one was trading up ahead of the Rams at 13 to take Ty Simpson. The guy has 15 starts. You don't need to bluff people into thinking, well, the Rams aren't interested.
What'd you say when they took Goff, when they traded for Stafford and won a Super Bowl the very first year? Remember all those haters? Like, this guy don't know what he's doing. The guy's calling the plays, Jason. He definitely made the call on Ty Simpson. Guess what? You don't have to be 6'5" in his system, Jason.
Are you pretending?
Do you know what the Rams run?
What?
What do the Rams do on offense?
Hey.
Boot naked, waggle, RPO, sprint out. You don't have to be 6'5". Matthew Stafford's not 6'5". They said they can move him on the run. You don't have to have more than 15 starts in this system. You know why? He's going to learn from Matthew Stafford for 2 years. He's going to be on the edge at practice. He's going to learn how to be on the move. He's going to run boot naked, waggle.
You know where
Puka
Sean
Nacua.
McVay is going to be at when Ty Simpson's the starting quarterback? In a broadcast booth somewhere, getting paid millions of dollars. Talking about, hey, I've won 2 Super Bowls and appeared in 3 or something, 4, I can't remember. But to me, Sean McVay acted like, man, by the time Ty Simpson's a starter and helping us, I'm going to be someplace else.
This is a team that doesn't need what other teams need, Jason. This is a team that's favored by every odds-on maker to win the Super Bowl. They're going to be picking at 32 next year. They're not getting Manning. They're not getting any of these other quarterbacks next year.
You know what's
13 was a steal pick.
What's guaranteed in football, JB? Injuries. You stay out there, play long enough, you're going to get hurt. And it all looks great.
Simpson.
It looks okay, JB. Okay. Matt Stafford gets hurt this year. You think Ty Simpson's leading them to a Super Bowl?
No, but he can win them 1 or 2 games.
Oh, okay. 1 or 2 games.
That's what you get him for, Jason.
Oh,
are you gonna Jimmy Garoppolo retires and Stetson Bennett's gonna win you a Super Bowl?
1 or 2 games.
Come on, man.
Sean McVay.
Stop.
Sean McVay, and maybe that's the plan. Sean McVay would rather, if Matt Stafford got hurt, he'd rather them win 1 or 2 games and draft really high the next year. That would be the dream scenario. That they would tank the rest of the season. But
they can't get that high. They can't get that high. It's an impossibility. Were they going to lose every game? They're going to tank now all of a sudden with the best roster.
If Matt Stafford got hurt and you had to turn to Ty Simpson, who has 15 starts, it's a possibility, JB.
He's always hurt. What are we talking about? He had a back issue last year. Remember that whole story? You guys got to stop playing. This guy plays chess. You guys playing checkers, man. Like Donald Trump and Iran. You guys got to start paying more credit to these
like
guys.
Sean King and Darnell Smith.
No, you do.
That Diana Russini and Mike Vrabel weren't doing anything.
Okay, give me, since you know so much about it, and I don't know anything about this particular situation, which I literally am looking at text in my face. Tell me, and they're laughing at you saying, how wrong can Whitlock be right now? Tell me, who are they supposed to take? Go.
Ruben Bain Jr.
Ruben Bain with 31-inch arms?
Hey.
What was he going to do for the Rams? In a 40 front, Jason. They don't run a 50. They run a 40. He's going to pass rush at the Rams in a 40 front over Jared Verse?
Yeah.
Stop acting like you don't know football. You sound like Darnell Smith right now. What is it going to be, a hybrid drop backer in zone coverage and fire and ice this thing? No. Stop.
He can play on third down and get to the quarterback, and that helps teams.
Called it. I had Willie McGinnis on for 4 hours last night. Guess what? Belichick wouldn't even have touched Bain if you had under a 35-inch arm reach. What does he know? There's a reason he dropped. There's a reason why, Jason. The Rams don't need a 31-inch long arm guy on the edge. What are we talking about? That would have been a horrific take for the Rams. He doesn't improve the Rams next year. So, Stafford getting hurt, having a backup improves the Rams next year, not Ruben Bain. So who are they going to take? Keep going. Try another guy. Go.
I'm standing.
Wide out?
We've already said Mekhi Lemon. They could have drafted a wide receiver.
Mekhi Lemon. I liked him, Coach. I think he fits that system.
So you think that McVay's not come on, Steve. This guy that's sitting at the podium looking like he just about to kill 3 people is going to go to Sean McVay and dig out the safety and
I'd have taken the safety out of Oregon.
In the run box. This guy.
I would have taken the safety out of Oregon. Can't pronounce his last name, but Dylan Thieneman.
They just signed the largest 2 corner contracts in football. What are they going to do with another corner secondary guy?
He's a safety, JB.
It doesn't matter. They're good at that position. Do you realize the worst pick in the draft, the Cardinals at 3, paying $50 million to a running back that hasn't taken it down? Do you realize the picks are already in stone, the amount of money you have to pay? Do you realize they were going to pay another secondary player big money at 13? It doesn't even make sense for their roster and salary cap, Jason. Quarterback does. It just is what it is. Wait, you can't judge it by 13 taking Ty Simpson and being so up in arms about it until the draft is over. Let's see how many wideouts they take. Let's see how many O-linemen they take, which is going to be the number 1 and 2 guys they go after next. So let's wait until this thing's over with.
My problem is they took a guy at 13 who can't help them in 2026. That's unprecedented. That's unprecedented, JB.
He don't need to help them, Jason. What do they need help with right now?
JB, they've been doing this NFL draft for a long time. Show me anywhere at the 13th pick where you take someone you know you're not going to play. It doesn't happen.
It happens all the time, Jason, at quarterback. What do you mean? You don't need to take – this is not a draft that you take a quarterback. The number 1 pick's not going to start, Jason, for the Raiders. What are you talking about? You don't take quarterback. This is not a draft that's going to be starting quarterback heavy. This is a backup class. They took a number 1 overall pick.
So why take a backup at 13?
This guy's Fernando, your crybaby favorite quarterback's not even going to start. He was number 1. What are you talking about? Number 13 is a great pick for a backup quarterback to be under a system like Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, Bledsoe and Brady, Alex Smith and Mahomes. What do you mean? It happens all the time. This is a roster that's ready to win a Super Bowl, Jason. This isn't the Cleveland Browns.
Now Ty Simpson is Patrick
Come on. This ain't the Browns.
You just compared Ty Simpson to Patrick Mahomes.
No, I didn't. I compared the pick and the selection and the roster and how strong the roster is where that quarterback's going. Stop being micro, Ball State. Stop doing your Ball State education right now. Stop using that. You have great players that play at Ball State. You're smarter than this. Stop. This is a selection comparison, not a player comparison. This is a roster comparison, not a player comparison. The Rams did not need anything before 13 that went elsewhere. They didn't need it. If they did, Jason, they would have traded 13. See, that's the point y'all keep missing. They didn't need nothing, or they would have moved up in the draft. They had number 13 from the Atlanta Falcons. They had cards to deal here.
Play the clip, please, while I put my earpiece in of
God, I'm cooking you today, boy. You brought me on the wrong day. Go
Kay
ahead.
Adams and Sean McVay.
How much Ty Simpson are you watching?
Well, we watch all of our guys.
I love him.
You know, I like him a lot too.
What do you like about him, like from a Sean McVay?
Well, I would say this. I probably haven't done as much work on him as you have, but I like the way he handles himself. I like the way that you can evaluate a lot of the different things that he's able to do that maybe translate. Familiar with what Ryan Grubb did just from him running that offense in Seattle the year before. I think Mendoza was a fun watch too, you know, but there's a lot of other guys that I like at that 13th pick. And, you know, whether it's quarterbacks, whether it's guys on offense or defense, you know, Les and his group, and I've been able to spend a bunch of time with them and the coaches. You know, we're excited. We're going to get a good player at 13. I know that much.
Oh my God! Yes, go ahead, Jason. What do you think? Give me the conspiracy. Give me what you think,
That's
so
not
I can cook you.
conspiracy, JB. The man just
Give me a
said,
conspiracy.
"Hey, I haven't watched much of Ty Simpson because at 13, that's not what we're doing."
Hey, wait a minute, Whitlock. How naive are you?
Oh,
Everything
so bad.
before
So
the
naive
draft,
right now.
they lie. They lie. No one shows
I'm
their
gonna take Ty
hand.
Simpson. I'm going to tell everybody who I'm taking. What are we talking about here?
Let me.
What's a poker face, man? He's playing poker with you guys. You're believing this crap? You're telling me he's going to tell the country, the other teams, that, hey, don't steal Ty Simpson, man. I really want this guy. Don't take him from me now.
This is like pretending.
What are you doing today on your show? You got to end your show early today as a favor.
This is like pretending that Sydney Sweeney would have to trick me into taking an interest in her, or, you know, she's got to put out a smoke screen. It'll take some effort for Sydney Sweeney to lock up Jason Whitlock. This is, you don't have to lie to kick it when it comes to Ty Simpson. No one is moving up to 13 to get Ty Simpson. There was one guy, Les Snead, who made it clear to Todd McShay and Coach JB and a handful and Dan Orlovsky that he was going to take Ty Simpson. And hats off to you. You guys know what Les Snead's going to do. But no one else wanted Ty Simpson at 13. And so Sean McVay doesn't have to go on with Kay Adams. And basically, he took a little pot shot at Kay Adams. He was so offended by the question. Well, obviously, I haven't watched him as much as you have, Kay. When he knows, like, even if Kay Adams had watched him, she wouldn't know what she was looking at. That was a sarcastic, like, this is a silly, stupid question. And, you know, Ty Simpson's second, third, fourth round pick, he's got 15 starts.
No, but wait, hold on, Whitlock, wait a minute. There were some reports that the Steelers liked him. So if you're the Rams at 13, in theory, you could say, let's go to 25. He may not be there at 25, though. That there's a reality to this of trading back. There's no guarantee everyone's going to fall back.
The Steelers would have taken him at 21, aspirated for Hoko. They would have took him at 21. So number one. So you're wrong again,
21.
Jason.
That's 21. That's
who was going to take? Who's going to take Ty from 13 to 21? Nobody. Guess what they all had? They all had needs. I'm looking at it. So who are the Rams going to take above Ty at 13?
I've already told you.
Caleb Downs?
Virtually anybody. They could have drafted me, and it would have been a better pick.
No, I think you're just mad at the pick. You're mad at the pick, and you're mad that you're wrong today, and you're mad at the pick. You're not mad at the reason why they took the pick. You're mad at the pick. That's what you're. I don't know why.
I'm mostly mad at you for coming on here and talk and sounding like Sean King talking about Diana Russini. I never expected that from you.
Keep tweeting at him, by the way. I love it. I keep retweeting it. The defense of them is unbelievable still. But we know now what the deal is.
I'm going to stop with the Ty Simpson stuff. And
yeah, because you're wrong. You got killed on that.
Okay. Yeah. I want to move to Diana Russini deleting her account and Mike Vrabel taking a leave of absence. Steve, go first. You have less of a chance of irritating me here than JB. I have no idea what JB's going to say about Diana. I'm actually thinking JB has a crush on Diana Russini. But anyway, Steve, what do you think of Russini deleting her account?
It's only about 7 years too late. One thing that I've learned no matter what you put up, guys, there's a thing called screenshotting. In fact, I do it often. You think there's a lot of photos, there's a lot of tweets. And as I wrap around this whole scenario, I think the husband of Russini is diabolical in his own way. Here's a guy that was the butt of jokes, like a bad sitcom for 6 years, right? And he's like, okay, keep jabbing at me. Keep jabbing at me, keep poking at me, keep having your fun. And now he engineers the greatest humiliation of all. Look, it's not a great look for the husband, and there's a family involved, and I feel sorry for those individuals. However, this guy in his own diabolical way got the loudest and best laugh.
So you're blaming him for the pictures. You think he's responsible for the pictures?
Well, someone hired the PI, right? I mean, and obviously, as JB's been saying, this guy must have a whole folder. I mean, a big warehouse full of photos from all over, and he's just going to keep dealing them out one by one.
Wait till tonight.
I think you got it wrong.
Oh, my God.
I think you got it wrong.
Really?
And not just you. I think a lot of people blaming the husband. I don't think he is winning in this, but there was no way I think he thought this was the strategy. He's got 2 kids with her. Again,
does he have 2 kids or 1?
I think he's got. Yeah, well, you're right.
Got 2,
but
only one of them.
He's been raising 2. He's been raising 2. The more likely scenario here, far more likely that no one's talking about, it's another woman. That when you're Mike Vrabel, and just as I'm talking about with Sean McVay, and just men want more.
Whoa.
And so I don't think this is all Mike Vrabel was doing. And so if it's not Mike Vrabel's wife, it's one of his other side pieces. And so when you're doing this type of behavior for as long as they got pictures going back to 2018, I just don't think you stop at Diana Russini. Guy's worth a bunch of money. He's celebrated on TV. He's got a overinflated ego. He's got multiple women that he's doing this with. And one of them is probably frustrated or feel like they've been lied to. And they got Diana Russini. There's rumors that, and I don't want to, not suggesting this, but there have been reports that there's another popular NFL coach that Diana Russini and Britt McHenry had a fight over. So, when you're a playboy, sometimes you get played. And I tend to think that a woman played Mike Vrabel here. But JB, your thoughts?
If I said Vrabel's wife knew the game already, would you be shocked?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be. Because, again, when Vrabel was doing interviews where he's talking about that his wife has made his private part useless, that's conversations you shouldn't be having with Barstool, and it's an indicator, your wife is going to see it. And so, but JB, here's the reality. Most women, a lot of women, a percentage of women will deal with infidelity as long as it's not exposed and they're not embarrassed. It's like, oh, someone else wants to handle those services for me. I'm good. I'll deal with the money and the kids and let them handle the extracurricular activities of their husband. But
if we go with that scenario, as she knew and that she knew the game, this is why they have adult kids. There's no alimony and child support to be paid by Vrabel. One kid is coaching with Bill O'Brien, who's going to be coaching with the Patriots with his dad here shortly. The other one's grown as well. So right there, he's going to say, here, if she really truly wants to leave him over this, here's a couple million, here you go. But that's not the case, because she already knew, to your point, if she already knew what he was doing, maybe he was upfront about it. Maybe this is what they do. We saw Sharon Moore and his wife. I told you on your show way before anybody else as well. You didn't give me any credit for. They were in on it together. So what's the issue? What's the difference? What's the difference with Udoka in Boston? Screwing a staffer, getting fired for the Celtics, also in Boston. The issue is this. We got to stop assuming that we know when, at the end of the day, this is a mockery for the NFL, the Patriots, and everybody else involved because it's draft day and this guy is selling to the highest bidder every day a new pitcher. TMZ is going to buy one here in a couple hours. New York Post bought one yesterday, and whoever outbids each other, this guy's just sitting there, boom, boom, boom. The bottom line is who
This
is
guy,
the guy?
who are you blaming?
The
Russini's
PI.
husband?
Who's the PI? That's what we need to find out.
Oh.
That's I don't care about nothing else because I need to hire him. You need to hire him. We all need to hire this guy. He's hiding out in the shadows. We don't know who he is. He's unbelievable. The pictures that are going to come out are unbelievable, and they're unbelievable PI work. Now, that is hired by the husband. I totally disagree with you. The husband of Diana Russini hired this person because he has more to lose than she does. He doesn't want the drama. He's a third in charge of Steak Shack or whatever. Here he's worth near $1 billion. He's got an ironclad prenup, and I'm sure that he was going to protect his money at all costs. That's why he hired the PI. What my gut instinct tells me, Willie, other guys that are obviously
Hold
tied
for a
in
second.
with
Hold for a second. Diana Russini's husband is super wealthy, is your argument, and he has
he is not arguing. He is fact.
He is. He absolutely is.
Yes. Now you want to change your thought?
No, not yet. I need to think it through. But I heard that he was wealthy, but I didn't know he was like that wealthy, the kind you're talking about. And so that wealthy, he has an ego too. And he has tolerated her talking wildly on radio and TV interviews for years. That seems unlikely. And it seems that he would tolerate that. And so if you're looking at who might have the open relationship, maybe it was Diana Russini and her husband far more than Vrabel and his wife.
What? How many billionaires, idiots do you know? Go.
I
you know any stupid billionaires like just stumbled upon the money? He was stupid as heck, and he really is dumb. Like I don't know any. I know 5 billionaires. I don't know any. They're geniuses. I think this guy's 3 steps ahead of everybody else.
I mean, Whitlock, this came to mind. Maybe he wants custody of the children. He wants to lay out a case. Miss
Of
Russini
Mike's son too.
Huh?
He wants
Mike's
custody
son's
of
grown.
Mike's son as
Mike's
well.
son's
Well,
grown.
okay, you can do testing on that. That's the first thing I'd be doing.
They got a
on him.
son named Michael. That just even if it's not Mike
swabbing.
Vrabel's son,
We're
I would
swabbing.
be upset.
We're swabbing today. I'm swabbing.
Yeah,
We're swabbing today.
Have to.
I'm just telling you, that's
You
next
have
for this
to.
billion. Yeah, this guy's swabbing next. The billionaire, he's swabbing next. Just watch.
But gentlemen, I really believe though, if he's this close to a billionaire, and maybe he had an open relationship with Diana Russini, I think that's more of a possibility than the other way.
Listen, if you keep getting bashed, Steve, not to cut you off, if you keep getting bashed in public over 6 years, and then you have a kid named Michael, and now all this comes out, and you didn't know why the kid's name is Michael, but now you're finding out the kid's name's Michael, and you've been 3 steps ahead figuring out why this has been going on, and now it's all coming out. This guy's going to show that he was three steps ahead of this all, and now it's an open hand back slap in the face to me that now I got a kid I've been raising as Michael. I'm swabbing, number 1. Number 2, to protect my interests. Number 3, in New York, in Boston, both towns and states of New York and in Massachusetts, you can sue and file criminal complaints versus somebody that cheats, unlike California, and get money from it. So if this guy finds out that kid's not his, do you realize what is going to be next down the pipe? This is going to come out next if it's not his kid. And then I believe both parties are done for, just because of the backlash and PR that New England's handled horribly to be, first of all, number 1, but it hasn't been a criminal offense on Vrabel's part. That's why it came out on Alex Stein, your show, everyone else. It's not going to be fireable for Mike Vrabel. It is for her because her integrity's gone. That's how she gets her information. Vrabel doesn't do anything. He's getting dapped up in the locker room by the players. Oh, yeah, coach, how was that stuff? Come on, we know what a football locker room is. So you can be a bad leader and a good coach. That's what Vrabel is.
Hey, Whitlock.
Yeah.
Whitlock, I recently read a book about Bill Walsh called The Genius by David Harris on my flight to Miami and back. It turns out Bill Walsh had an option. Christine Hansen. and it kind of led to I don't know how solid the marriage was at this point, but that lady who was kind of I think she was a Playboy model at one time. She was a noted television personality in the news in the Bay Area. She was quoted in the book saying, yeah, we had a relationship. And then it kind of was certainly an entanglement. But for the first time, though, Coach, I actually do think that Vrabel's job might be on the line. And not because
it's getting too loud.
Yeah, it's getting too embarrassing because you're right in terms of the moral and ethical bounds of a football coach compared to a journalist in working for the New York Times. It's diametrically opposed, right? But now, if you take away the confidence and the word that I hate, swagger of Vrabel, and he's a defeated man being taken off to counseling on the third day of the draft. On one hand, Coach, you're right. In the beginning, maybe everyone's dapping up Coach, but if he comes down, slouched down, face down, can't look anyone in the eye, I don't know how he leads at that point.
You can't lead. It's a bad leader, but you can still be a good coach because the judge, jury, and executioner is a guy they call Rub and Tub. He's the leader. Jason, what's he going to do? You can't fire that guy. He does. This is what they do. This should be a 30 for 30. We're going to name it right here on Jason Whitlock Show. Fearless. Cheaters. The Patriot way. That's what this needs to be. The 30 for 30. This is what they do, Jason. Scapegoat, deflate gates, cheat gates, spy gate. I mean, just keep going. This is now this is cheat gate. This is nothing new. This is dirty D gate. This is nothing new in the Patriots organization. Number one. And can we stop acting like we're brand new, Jason? You guys know the billionaire Bezos that owns Amazon? You heard of that guy?
Yeah.
Did he cheat on his wife and pay her off or no?
Did he?
How about Jerry Jones, Robert Kraft? How about Donald Trump? How about we just keep naming every billionaire we know? They all had a side piece. Why are we acting like this is normal? This is new.
Hold for 1 second, though. Steve's made an excellent point that I want to spend, and we'll circle back to that aspect. But Steve made an excellent point that I want to buttress or expound on as it relates to Vrabel. Let's remember, and this is a great point you made, Steve. Let's remember Tiger Woods all the way up until the Thanksgiving 2009 crash.
Yes.
And then he became a different person after being publicly embarrassed. And then you got to go out there in that spotlight and you've been totally had your pants pulled down and been unmasked. And he was never the same guy. And he's never been the same guy since. That's what could be happening with Mike Vrabel. Is like, this is so publicly humiliating that it totally undermines him as a leader, makes him a poor leader, can't command the room. We just know too much. And once Tiger Woods got unmasked as and the Rachel Ucatel, I can remember my father loved the ground Tiger walked on. But I'll never forget. He was like, I can't believe he wouldn't pay that woman's rent. Rachel Ucatel wanted $500 for some rent money, and my father was like, "You ain't gonna give her $500 for some rent money? You gonna deal with all of this?" Blah 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 blah. It just diminished Tiger Woods.
I hate to drop rank on you, Jason. You actually have a guy that knows inside information on Tiger Woods because he grew up with him. Me. So you should have had me on if you wanted to know anything about Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods is absolutely who he is. This is exactly who he's always been. He's the worst human I've ever met in my entire life. Fact.
Okay.
Growing up in the Sorrentos.
Hold for 1 second, though, JB. JB comes off as the South Central Compton JB, but that's where Tiger grew up?
No, he grew up in Cypress. I'm telling you, if you want to know, he went to Western High School. My best friend and him were best friends in high school. Me and Tiger grew up on the same golf course, Hartwell Golf Course at Long Beach. Same trainer. So guess what? He went to Western High School, grew up in the Sorrentos in Cypress with my best friend, a guy that owns a liquor store named Sung. Their parents were best friends. Tiger has been the biggest, excuse my French, shitbird that we've ever met in our entire lives. This has been Tiger Woods since he was a little kid. This is not new Tiger Woods that you saw. So for your point to say he's never been the same, no, he is the same. That is exactly who he is.
You're missing my point. You're missing my point.
I get your point. Let me just round it about for you. Vrabel, you need to get Willie on the show and some other people. This is Vrabel. This is exactly who he is. He doesn't care about you, me, or anyone else talking about this. This is who he is. He don't care. And we got to be sure that there's two spectrums of this. Either guy cares. And one guy is a worst human I've ever been around. The other guy is a great human that likes the pee. And you and I know that's undefeated. So listen, that's who they are, respectfully. And we need to just let it go and be that as may.
JB, sometimes when people get exposed, like Tiger Woods got to run around and be treated like he wasn't one of the worst people on the planet, that he had a set of morals and ethics. That all got exposed. Like, no, Tiger Woods is basically a clown, and doesn't even, if you're going to be that type of player, he's not even following any of those types of rules. The woman that you're running around with, she needs $500 to pay her rent, and you're too cheap. You're flying her Southwest. You're doing all this other stuff. You're inviting trouble. It exposed Tiger Woods. Like, he don't even understand this game. And
Jason,
go ahead, Steve.
Whitlock, I agree. If he would have been paying rent at a nice condominium and flying them private jets, they would have protected their space. They would have said, like Sergeant Schultz, I see nothing, I hear nothing, I know nothing. Now, JB, to your point, the liquor store owner song being Korean, that's the least surprising thing ever. But I do think the point Mr. Whitlock is making is, yeah, he's still an Esper. He always has been, but Whitlock, I'm with you. He lost his athletic aura. There was an aura. There was this mystique about Tiger that when he crashed into that mailbox with the 9-iron coming around his head from his wife, something was gone. And I'm with you, Whitlock. It absolutely affected how people viewed him, and it related to his game also.
That's my point, too. That's my point, Jason. We are viewing him from the outside looking in, not the people that knew him. This is not a shocker to us. We know this has been Tiger from the jump. We knew he wasn't going to pay nothing. That's what he is. That's who he is.
I didn't know this.
And most people didn't. That's what I'm saying. The public media that don't know make assumptions. They assume they know somebody based on because we honor what he walks on. He's the greatest golfer, and we know what he is. He's an anomaly, and is a billionaire, and all this stuff, and one of the most popular people on the planet. But guess what? This is who he's always been, though.
There's an aura that is necessary for leadership, and that aura is connected to a set of morality, values. There's like, why is Tom Landry, why was he so successful? And Tom Landry may have been a nightmare, and he may have had someone off on the side, no different than Bill Belichick, no different than Bill Cowher or Mike Tomlin. But these guys had an aura and could put on a facade that they had a level of character and values, and that helps them be a leader. There is a value to having good morals and ethics. Once it's removed from you, your ability to lead men, because men, even as messed up as we are, we aspire to be better than who we are, and we want to be led by people that we believe are better and have a set of values and character, blah, blah, blah. And once that's erased, I think it makes it hard for you to be a leader. And that's where I think, like, Mike Vrabel getting humiliated in this type of fashion, being the butt of jokes and memes, it may reach a point where they figure out, like, hey, man, he can't lead this Patriots football team.
Yeah, if this was 1998 and we didn't have these, it would be a non-story, exactly with everybody else. Every coach I've ever been around has been cheating on their significant other. Every great coach is even times 10. This is not a new thing. We just have cell phones now. That's really what it is. This
People
is now
want
being
to live in a state of delusion. Yes, I look, JB,
magnified now.
JB, but trust me, I've spent most of my life pretending that I'm Denzel Washington. It's a delusional state that I want to live in, and it helps me get by every day. And sometimes you can convince a woman or two, yeah, I think underneath all of that, he is Denzel Washington. That's most people. Everybody has a delusion about this stuff. JB, respectfully, you think you're the same level of coach as Bill Belichick. There are people. Everybody has to think that way. Every coach has to think that way. It's not true, but
yeah,
once the delusion gets exposed, it's harder to be a coach.
The problem is, do you own it or not? Do you admit it with your team or not? Vrabel does. So the team knows who he is. The team already knows who he is, private doors. You could ask Willie, you can ask Nink, you could ask Weddle, you could ask these guys that we know personally. That's who he is. The players know who he is. That's why they love playing for him. What he does personally, though, is magnified because of this, and now it's become a public opinion of people that don't know him. So we create this narrative. I believe you can be a bad leader. To your point, I agree with you. I've been arguing this with Smitty and Sean all week. He's a bad leader of men, and he's a good football coach. You can absolutely be that because there's levels to coaching, and there's a thing called master coach. And a master coach, he has not done yet. He hasn't figured that part out because a master coach has to create and understand leaders create more leaders, not more followers. Right now, he's creating more followers and not more leaders. That's why Diggs had 8 baby mamas. It was cool. They were cool. Now that gone and past. Now we're going to go with whoever's next down the A.J. Brown. Russini's going to get that inside information. This is what it is. This is who Vrabel's always been. Ask anyone that played with him. No different. Just like prior to Netflix and people seeing me that knew me, that's JB. that ain't nothing crazy. That's JB. But the people that never knew me, I'm racist, I'm this, I'm crazy, I'm that. You don't know me. But the people that knew me are like, that's JB. That's the same thing. This is the same guy. We're just judging him now because there's more pictures out there. And what he did personally, we're judging him, which God said not to do, Jason. We're judging him based on what he did with his personal opinion. What he did with his personal life, though. His personal life. Has nothing to do with football right now, Jason. His personal life. You could talk about infidelity, all the things that his wife has to deal with, but that is what they have to deal with. Now, does it become too loud for the organization? The reason I say no is because you have an owner, judge, jury, and executioner, who's already done this as well. So, like, this is the way, the Patriot way. Belichick did it. He's been seen leaving a house in Nantucket with a 23-year-old. What do you mean? This is what they do there. So I'm not shocked at all. I believe he'll get through it. The problem is Belichick's 20-year run that was unbelievable. We've never seen. The roster was built from round 3 to 7. Willie McGinnis broke it down last night. Very rare did you get a pick from round 1 to 3 that helped them win a Super Bowl. It was round 3 to 7 under Belichick. Willie McGinnis was picked 4th in the first round. He was one of very, very few, and he was picked by Parcells, not Belichick. So Belichick went from 3 to 7. This is what Vrabel was missing this weekend. He's going to miss rounds 3 to 7. I'm very intrigued how this unfolds for that fact, not anything else. So that's when it becomes too loud because it hurt the organization from winning.
JB, I've got to do this because I made a promise to one of the idiots on my staff who's a Bengals fan. For some reason, and I tried to talk him out of this, he wants to know your opinion on Dexter Lawrence going to the Cincinnati Bengals. I apologize, but your thoughts.
Addition by subtraction. John Harbaugh knew what he wanted to do. He wanted guys to buy in. Everything that I've been told and players on the team and buddies, he's horribly lazy between Monday and Saturday. Harbaugh doesn't play that. Obviously, Zay Flowers has come out and bashed Harbaugh. We practice in pads every day and we're hard. Like he's already came out in that viral podcast. So Harbaugh practices hard and he wants players to be bought in when he takes over, just like he did in Baltimore. He wants guys that are going to do it his way. And that's why it was an easy removal for the Giants side. And I believe the Bengals got a name, not production. He is a top 5 D tackle. Don't get it twisted. He is a top 5 D tackle when he plays. But if he's not all in for the coach and wants to create a new culture, he's got to go. So the Bengals got a name. I don't believe the Bengals are going to get, at this age, the production they think they're going to get when he was in New York.
Luke, are you satisfied with that answer? You glad you asked the question? Yeah.
But it helps Burrow, right? Oh, we got a defensive player. We lost Hendrickson. We got a player. We'll see. They did make some key offseason acquisitions on defense, which they were number 31 in the league last year, I believe. So they need defense. I do believe they're still going to go grab another wideout in the draft.
We've entertained Luke more than enough here. No one. I like the Dexter Lawrence move.
You call him sexy Dexy?
Yeah, I don't. I don't. I didn't know that. Steve or JB, because I can't believe the Ty Simpson conversation threw me for a loop. The Russini conversation.
Make sure you clip that the right way. Don't clip it to favor you.
Yeah. Don't take it out of context.
Yeah. You guys don't, Luke, Peyton, don't do your job. Don't make Jason look good.
Yeah,
make JB
make
look
us
good.
look good there, fellas.
Yeah, on my show, Jason, contrary to belief, we do a segment, contrary to belief. If somebody comes on my show and cooks me, I edit it that way, and because I'm a real show.
Yeah.
So you got to
JB, I'll say this. Whenever you cook me, whenever that may be, we will play up that clip. Probably won't happen until like 2046 or 2047, but when it happens, we'll play you cooking me.
Who's your biggest takeaway? I got to ask you, who's your biggest takeaway from what you saw yesterday, round one?
My biggest takeaway is that Ty Simpson and the Rams have made a mistake.
Micro. I knew it. Micro. Not the Jets had the Giants and the Jets did an unbelievable job.
Don't care about any of that. I love Jeremiah Love. I love that pick for the Arizona Cardinals. Yes. And I think Sonny Styles was the best defensive player.
You like Love at 3?
Yes.
It's the worst pick in the draft.
Guys, you know who I think had a good draft?
Steve, that's crazy, Steve. He's pissed off about Ty Simpson, but he's happy about paying a running back who's never played $50 million. He's the highest paid running back in the league right now, Jason. He hasn't played a down.
High character guy, comes from a great family, presents himself
Did you watch the Miami game?
Great talent.
Oh, I was there. I saw him get all of 33 yards. And by the way, Buccaneers, Chargers, great draft. Great draft. And the Giants, of course. Great draft. They got 3 excellent football players. Guys, I'll say something. I think the Cowboys got the best, most surest thing in the draft in Caleb Downs. That's the type of guy that'll anchor your secondary and your defense for a full decade. Great pick by the Cowboys.
I'm curious what they do with Pickens, though. I'm curious to see what happens with that. I think
the other worst pick in the draft that I've already talked. Can we put the picture of Caden Proctor back up?
Oh,
this clown.
He's a guard.
Well, no, he's nothing.
He's a bust. Your nickname is Krispy Kreme. You show up with a nose ring. You show up with a platinum grill. You show up with a big gaudy gold chain. This is a wide receiver that has an offensive lineman, an overweight offensive lineman's body. This is a mistake.
You know what the irony is, Steve, and I know I hate to do this, but you do realize the common denominator here, right?
What was that?
What's his mom?
White
mom.
Oh,
every single one of them.
Caden Proctor has a white mom?
Yes, every single one of them. White moms, man, are the downfall of these youngsters. Sean King brought it up. I've been saying it for years. But Sean King brought it up today. This kid is from Iowa. He is from Iowa. He's mixed, and he wants to be gangster. The Iowan kids, there's a reason why Iowa's the most under-recruited state in the union, them in Kansas and Idaho, because they're horrific. The talent's garbage. And this kid is a bust. He's knock-kneed. He's penguin-footed. He's going to play guard, if anything. He's got the worst feet in the draft at tackle.
They threw passes to this guy. I don't know if he's got the worst feet.
He's got the worst feet.
He's a pretty good athlete, JB.
Yeah, he's got the worst feet. He's a guard.
Yeah, but Jason, I think he's soft. The whole Alabama line was a letdown. The other thing is I didn't like when he went to Alabama, decommitted from Iowa, and then after his freshman year, he went back to Iowa for 2 weeks in the portal and went back to Alabama. That to me right there.
He's got a white mom. Steve, he's got a white mom.
Let me stand up for white women that love brothers. Let me speak for that. I don't know if blaming them is that kind of offends me, JB.
It's not white women that love brothers. It's white moms. There's a difference, Jason. They conceived. It's a white mom, not a white woman that loves brothers. It's a white mom They're the worst. I got one.
Whitlock is really regretting not ending the show 5 minutes ago.
I really am. And we are ending it now. Thank you, gentlemen. We're done here. This was a good show. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week.